Good morning again. Our gospel reading this morning comes from the book of Luke, chapter 12, verses 16 through 21. Some of you may be familiar with this. And he told them this parable. This is Jesus speaking. The ground of a certain rich man produced a good crop. He thought to himself, "What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops." Then he said, "This is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones. There I will store all my grain and all my goods. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of good things laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded of you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be with anyone who stores up things for himself, but is not rich toward God." Self-serve. We're familiar with that term. We have self-serve gas stations, self-serve just about everything. Get it yourself, get your own pop at McDonald's, get your own whatever. But you know what? We've got to get over the self-serve mentality. We started out in the 60s especially with this me generation sort of thing. All that mattered was what we wanted. Even today, this carries on. Not that we're that much different, because Jesus was able to tell this parable and people got it. We're a people, as human beings, that are very self-centered. It's about me. What do you love? Me. What do you care about? What you eat in the morning? Well, I care. I care what I do all the time. I care about me a lot. I care if I get to bed on time. I care if I get the right amount of food. I care about what temperature it is. It's all to satisfy me. What we have to remember is it can't be all about us. Now, how many of you in here have seen the movie The Bucket List, or at least know what it's about? A couple of older gentlemen, they're going to be passing away. They both have terminal illnesses, and they decide, I'm going to make a list of all the things I want to do before I die. And they go to some extraordinary circumstances, especially since one of them is a multi-millionaire. They go to various parts of the world, eating, doing things, skydiving, all to try and satisfy who? Themselves. Too often, we find ourselves in that circumstance. That if we knew we were dying, the first thing that would come to our mind is, what haven't I been able to do? Oh, you know what? I'm going to start reading. There's some books here. I'm going to get them out. I'm going to read these books. Oh, I'm going to learn to do something. I'm going to learn how to play piano. I always wanted to do that, never took the time. I'm going to do that now. You know what? I'm going to go and travel to exotic lands. I'm going to get a hold of a travel agency. I'm going to make these plans. And so on until we get a second opinion that says, oh, by the way, that's wrong. You're going to live a long life. Then we go, oh, we'll put the books back. I'll worry about taking piano lessons later. We all aim for ourselves. Now, in the case of this gentleman, a lot of times we read that and we figure God is punishing him by taking his life. Not really so. It doesn't say he angered God and God took his life. We all have an appointed time of death. We just don't know when it is. This gentleman that Jesus is talking about, the parable, had a death that was scheduled. He didn't know it. But instead of putting up his treasures in heaven, which we're told there are no thieves and will never rust and never deteriorate, he's putting up his treasures here on earth. God must have loved the guy in the first place because he blessed him. He was a wealthy man. He didn't say he was some poor farmer. He was a wealthy guy to begin with. Then he had a bumper crop, even more. God blesses us so we can bless others. This guy should have been thinking about blessing others with his overage instead of storing up more for himself. We're warned in the Bible. Jesus said it's easier for a rich man to go through the eye of a camel, for a camel to go through the eye of a needle, than for a rich man to go into heaven. And that's because if somebody is rich and wealthy and has too much of the good thing, they tend to want more of it, and that's where they concentrate on. Thank you. We have circumstances that we are the same way. All of us have been pampered more than we know. How many of us would be in here listening to us if I turned the heat off? I mean, it'd be warmer than outside, but it could be 50 degrees in here. How many of you sit and listen? People? Truly? I don't know if I'd sit here and preach it that kind of way. The point is they used to do this a long time ago. They didn't now have heating systems, insulation. They had a fireplace. If you were close to the fireplace, you were warm. You're far away from it, you're cold. How many of us would be willing to stand out in the sweltering sun and listen to a preacher? Bless you. Many of us are very uncomfortable if we're just off a few degrees. We'll be out there in the summertime complaining how hot it is, and then in the wintertime how cold it is. And we get down in the spring and fall and just a matter of a few degrees, man, it's uncomfortable. It's not, We get pampered. We want to be pampered. How many of you are picky eaters? That's another thing. I don't like those vegetables. I won't eat that. That's too